Welcome to the EGC Marketing Podcast. We provide you with the latest digital marketing news, performance marketing tips, and creative problem-solving skills you need to stay resilient in our fast-changing world of marketing. Listen and learn how to get the edge over your competition and grow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another insightful episode of the EGC Marketing Edge podcast. I am your host, Max Ross, and I couldn't be more excited to have Christina Botti, the Director of Social Media at EGC, joining me today. Here at the EGC Marketing Edge podcast, our goal is to equip you with actionable insights to enhance your marketing strategies. Today, our focus is on the power of user-generated content. We'll be discussing the importance of recognizing that your most valuable brand ambassadors could actually be your own users. We'll explore effective strategies to boost UGC through incentives like gifting or referral programs. And we'll also unveil the significance of building engaged communities and how they can contribute to customer retention and increase user engagement. Christina, it's great to have you with us.
Hey, Max, it's great to be here. Thanks for the intro. Excited to talk more about UGC.
Perfect. So we'll get right into it. So for those who aren't familiar, what exactly is UGC and how does it really help your brand?
So UGC is user-generated content. Basically, this is any form of content. It could be a photo, video, text, a review, whatever, created by users or customers rather than the brand itself. So UGC is really important because it fosters brand advocacy through users who share positive experiences with your brand. It's essentially providing very authentic and relatable content that resonates with your audience.
And I do realize, there is this notion that, they say organic recommendations are likely to be trusted more because, they come from an actual user. They're authentic in a sense, rather than a paid advertisement. Do you agree with this, or do you think there's, more than meets the eye when it comes to someone promoting a product from, an authentic place versus perhaps like a celebrity endorsement where you think, okay, well, does Shaq actually use the general car insurance?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's a tough line because I totally agree that I think real users' experiences kind of build that trust in the brand and build brand advocacy. But at the same time, someone like Shaq can get the eyeballs on it that like a regular Joe Schmo couldn't. So having a good mix of both celebrity endorsements and true user-generated content is the key, in my opinion.
And when it comes to measuring UGC success, are there any key metrics that are, outside of the usual, perhaps metrics that we look at when we observe the success of a marketing campaign? Is there anything, beyond a conversion rate or perhaps an impression that might be unique to this category?
Definitely sentiment, right? So if someone is speaking positively about your brand, you can always try and review your brand sentiment through social listening. So that's important, but also the amount of content that's coming in and having users interact with each other. So something like a private Facebook group really is a good way of having different types of people interact with each other, encourage each other, and also provide user-generated content for social media. So there isn't really a big KPI that I would really focus on other than fostering the community, and then you'll kind of see the growth trajectory as you see your followers grow.
I'd love to piggyback on that and just talk about, the importance of community building, particularly, with the Facebook group that you mentioned. One of our clients, they're a healthcare client, specifically a diet company. And, by growing a community of users who, share their progress, explain what they enjoy using about the program, what they may have some pain points about, it really has increased, retention. And it's really created some of our best ambassadors because, people are, I feel, more willing to share what they're feeling when they're in a community with like-minded people. So I'm just curious, are there any other instances aside from Facebook groups examples other than Facebook groups that you've seen help build these communities? Basically, how do you cultivate these communities where, people are likely to share their opinions and become ambassadors?
Yeah, I do think that these private groups are a great way to do it just because you're kind of able to share, especially with something in the healthcare industry for weight loss, you're able to kind of share such personal details that you don't feel comfortable sharing on Instagram, maybe. You're able to share your recipes and your success stories, and you kind of have a very motivational group behind you to share that with. But there are definitely ways of doing it. There's also smaller groups within Instagram where they just have like their broadcast channels, for example. That's a good one of having a specific set of individuals following a specific broadcast channel on Instagram. Really just it's figuring out ways to tap into an audience that is very niche within your overall audience. So there's little niche audiences within it that you can kind of tap into and do things like the private groups or the broadcast channels, or DMing people too. I know that there's tons of that, and working with influencers as well.
And I guess beyond outreach, are there any ways to incentivize users to promote user-generated content? Because obviously, in a perfect world, we would love for our users to be so passionate that they would just do it out of the kindness of their heart. But sometimes it's not that simple. Are there any examples of how you could promote people to be your cheerleader and to promote the product?
Yeah, absolutely. Gifting programs is a big one. So that's basically offering free products or exclusive discounts in exchange for UGC. I mean, that's probably the original way that influencers were kind of incentivized back in the day. And now it's kind of that UGC incentivization. Another one is flattery, right? So promoting someone. Everyone loves to kind of feel seen and feel special. Plus, they're probably tagging your brand so that they can get noticed. So featuring UGC on official brand channels gives exposure and recognition. And then another one I would say is a referral program. So just rewarding users for referring friends or family to brands, expanding their user base and generating more UGC. They can, again, get free product or discounts, and that really helps just incentivize them making more. There was one other thing I wanted to touch on, and you might have considered bringing this up, but also working with creators that create UGC style content. So now there are basically creators, my like micro influencers, you would say, who create UGC specific content. So they're basically not posting to their actual page. Usually they're creating content for the brand to post to their page to make it kind of seem like that lifestyle content that a micro influencer would post, and giving that kind of authentic look and feel that brands with big budgets might not be able to afford. Influencers can actually tap into these UGC creators. So it's an interesting way of kind of tapping an unused audience right now, or an unused market right now.
And do you find that these, or rather just UGC content in general, UGC content's redundant, just UGC has a higher, perhaps like virality coefficient, in that it's more likely to be shared, it's more likely to be clicked on than traditional content? I'm curious to just have your thoughts as to, based on historical context, what type of content tends to perform well.
Yeah, the more natural, the better. So I would say UGC is a great way to just really showcase something very natural, very authentic and real and raw, versus something that's over stylized, or something that might feel like an ad or feel a little bit too pushy that's coming from the brand. That UGC style content really kind of pushes a new direction. It doesn't feel like you're being marketed to, if that makes sense.
All right. And I guess to top it off, we'll conclude with our question, which we ask a lot of our guests, which is are there any examples of this type of content that you would like to point our audience towards? And also, what is going on in your life? And are there any, trends and such that you would like to share with our audience before we log off?
I could share a really fun case study, and this is from Triangle, which is an Australian swimwear brand who wanted to expand their market to the US. So they didn't have the big pockets and the resources necessarily to do a big, massive campaign going from Australia to the US. So they came up with this genius gifting strategy that cost them $0. And they basically just gave away free product. And they specifically targeted friends and influencers that were friends with Kendall Jenner. So every time she'd go hang out with her friends, she'd see them in these triangle swimsuits. And she eventually got so much FOMO that she wanted one for herself. So she got in touch with the brand, they sent her product, and the rest is kind of history. And I think the key takeaway with that is the importance of thinking outside of the box, especially when faced with a budget constraint, right? So working on finding unique ways to target the audience that you're trying to reach. And obviously, FOMO is always going to be real, and the excitement of getting exclusive or limited access products is always going to feel special in some way. So just tapping into really cool and unique ways of thinking outside the box by utilizing user-generated content.
Excellent. And with that, we are just about ready to conclude. Please, if you found this helpful, do like, comment, subscribe, share. We'd love to get our podcast out there, and we have some great content that's rather in the pipeline. So do stay tuned for that. Christina, thanks as always for joining, and we will see all of you again soon.
Thanks, Max.